Hi, in this week's video, we're going to be comparing the brand new S27i, the big screened, heavy hitting flagship bike from NordicTrack against the slick skilled champ, the Peloton Bike Plus. To make things more interesting, I'm going to be scoring these two over 12 rounds using the Fightscore app. Feel free to do the same. Do we have a new champ? Let's get cracking. Round one, delivery and setup. So a really strong start for the Peloton here. When this bike was delivered, two guys came in a Peloton van. They set the bike up, they leveled it for me. Now I had to re-level it, but I think that was because I kept talking to them. But this was the same for my Peloton Bike Plus, and the Tread. Excellent delivery service. I couldn't really ask for more in how Peloton handled it. I paid the same amount of money for this bike, the S27i, and it just came in a box. Two guys brought it in, it weighed 100 kilos, the box, and they just kind of left it there. It took me 40 minutes just to unpack it, and then it took me 90 minutes to build it. I got stuck on one part for half an hour. It was quite frustrating. I had to go and have a coffee at one point. On one hand, I would say I've got a really strong understanding of the components on this bike because I built it. However, I probably would have preferred not to have built it. So a really strong start for the Peloton Bike Plus, and that's 10-9 round. Round two, tablet speed and class navigation. Now, compared to my S22i, it was a no-brainer for the Peloton. Let's see how the S27i does. We'll start with the Peloton. One area where the Peloton outshines many of its competitors is with its screen. It's pretty slick. There's a little bit of juddering there, isn't there? But on the whole, it's very, very slick. Let's see how easy it is to start a class. I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to hit the start button. I'm going to start the class. So straightforward, and I was in within seconds. This screen is just so big. So I would say just as smooth, maybe slightly smoother. It does seem that way, doesn't it? And let's see how easy it is to get into a class. So I'm just going to let's pick one. I'm going to pick this one here. Let's see what happens. Spinny wheel. No one likes a spinny wheel. Still spinning. Can I hit the start? It's loading the workout. So quicker than the S22i. I mean, it's just a bit slow, isn't it? This is a real shame. And then I'm in the waiting room, so at the start of the ride. Although I would say big improvements for the NordicTrack, another round for the Peloton. We've got 20, 18. Let's move on to round three. Next, we have tablet size. And when it comes to immersive training, bigger is just better. This is a really good size screen at 23.8 inches. At 27 inches, this is just massive. And it's so good when you're on your bike right in front of it. In fact, it's such a big USP that we've got our first knockdown. This is such a huge difference. We've got a 10-8 round. The NordicTrack has now drawn level. Round four is display quality. Now, both of these bikes are 1080p. Let's have a closer look. I'm not sure how easy it is to show this, but the Peloton bike, you have to get really close to get any sort of pixelation here. It's a really good quality screen, and the coating that they've got on here as well is also excellent. If we come over to the NordicTrack, now, at a distance you can't tell the difference, but when you get closer, see if you can see there's a little bit more pixelation there. It's so hard to show, but it's just not quite as sharp. There's virtually nothing in this, and you can only really tell when you've got them side by side, but the Peloton just edges it and pulls back into the lead. Round five, which is the class rides. Now, the reason I'm showing you this on the television and not the bike is because when you're on the bike and you stop pedaling, it pauses the ride, so I can't show you the class. So here's one of the class rides. I think if you're using these, you'll be happy with them. I think they're good. They've got good energy. The instructors are good. I think they're overall good. However, Peloton's rides just have better music, better production, and a better vibe, I think, especially when they get the audience riders back as well. So another 10-9 round to the Peloton, taking the scores to 48-46. Now this is reversed heavily, really heavily. When we come to the outdoor rides, I mean, this bike, iFit is such a power puncher in this area. So the Peloton bike just gets blown out of the water, completely destroyed with these rides. They are just unbelievable fitness rides. In fact, the difference is so big, the Peloton goes down twice. It's a double knockdown, don't argue with me, I'm the referee. We've got a 10-7 round. Not only do these rides have auto resistance, well, the Peloton doesn't have auto resistance on its outdoor rides. I really don't understand why. The NordicTrack also has this amazing feature, so when you go down a hill, the bike goes down a hill. And when it goes up inclines like this, not only does the bike lean backwards, it also adjusts the resistance slightly, so the hills just feel steeper and steeper. Round 6, the Peloton's just taken a hammering. It's at 55. The NordicTrack is at 56. It's first time in the lead. Round 6 is music. Now, out of all the fitness apps I use, Apple Fitness Plus has got the best music, closely followed by Peloton's. And with Peloton, the tempo and the style of music reflects the class. It really helps motivate you through a workout. Now, with iFit, they have stations. And this is a little bit odd, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as some people make it out. So in the US, you have 11 stations. In the UK, for some reason, we only have 4. And when you're riding, you pick a station to listen to. It's a bit like a radio. I think it's all non-copyrighted music, I'm not sure, but there's certainly songs that kind of perhaps half sound familiar, but I've never really heard them before. They're okay, they're not great. I tend to turn them down and have the instructor up. An easy round for Peloton, 10-9, and it levels up again at 65 apiece. When it comes to off-the-bike workouts, it's like the classes really. The iFit ones are good. I don't know why there's a toolbox there. I don't think anyone's using that hammer. But these are good. If you're using these, I think you'll enjoy them. But once again, Pelotons are better. I think over the last couple of years, the Peloton studios have actually got worse for their strength. I just think these are really, really dull and not very interesting at all. However, the content and the trainers here are superb, especially people like Rebecca Kennedy, just exceptional trainers. I've got nothing against the iFit ones, but these are better. 10-9 to Peloton, and they're back in the lead, 75-74. Round 9 is Trustpilot scores, and these are quite important, but I hope you never have a problem and you never need them. So overall in the UK, Peloton, this is across all their products here, the 2 bikes and the tread, they score 4.6. So a really good Trustpilot score. In the UK, all of the NordicTrack range, which is wider and some of the products aren't at this level, so it's not quite a like-for-like comparison, but they only score 3.5. And it changes through region. So for instance, in France, they're about the same. In the US, Peloton's getting 4.5. NordicTrack across their range is getting 2.4. So there is quite a wide difference outside of France in customer satisfaction. For that reason, it's a knockdown to the Peloton. The Peloton puts the NordicTrack down. We've got a 10-8 round, which incidentally, at this stage of the fight, is quite bad because it puts the Peloton bike 3 points ahead. Round 10, and we're getting through the fight now, is cost of ownership. So with the bikes themselves, I'm not going to talk about that much because I paid £2,300 for this bike and I paid £2,300 for this bike. Now, about a year ago, my son, and this isn't a sponsor video, he put a little widget on my browser, my web browser called Honey. I may be the only person in the world who doesn't know about this, but when you're shopping, it it then pops up and says, shall I try these discount codes? Most of the time, they're all out of date. But in this case, and I ordered this bike the day it came out, so I was surprised it worked. The honey, whatever it puts in the token thing, it took £200 off this bike. So if you're buying one of these bikes, I would suggest using a web browser and having something like Honey installed, because quite often you can save a few £100s on pieces of equipment like this. The real difference comes down to the cost of the subscription. Now, I'm the only person that rides these bikes, and with the Peloton bike, you need the All Access membership, which is $39 a month or $468 for the year. Whether you've got one person riding this or 5, it's the same price. With the NordicTrack, you need the iFit membership. Now in the UK, that's $30 a month, making it $360. So a good saving on here. But if, like me, you're a sole user, you can buy an annual membership. I paid £104 for my annual membership. And that difference is a 75% saving on the cost of the content on this than this. 75% cheaper for a single user. If you have multiple users, so you need like a family membership on here, if you buy it annually, don't subscribe monthly, buy it annually, you're still saving in excess of a third on the cost of your subscription every year. So it's another knockdown. It wasn't a slip, it's a 10-8 round, because the saving on the subscription here can be massive. The Peloton is still in the lead with 93 to 92, but it's just so close. Round 11 is about how they ride. So this is, let's whisper thin this one. So the Peloton bike is the best spin bike I've ever ridden. It is just truly a good bike. It's fantastic. And that was the case until I got onto the S27i, the smaller screen version of this. And because essentially the same bike, this has just got a bigger tablet. Some other changes, but this is a bigger tablet. The Q factor on this, and by that I mean the pedals are closer together, it feels more like a road bike. It is just very slightly better to ride than a Peloton. Please don't base your buying decision on this, but the NordicTrack just takes it by a whisper, and we're back at a draw. Now, round 12, the end of a fight, and it's how they look. And this is subjective, and it's what you feel, but let's have a look around the bikes. One way the Peloton seems to have stood out for ages, really, for years, is with its design. It looks like it's all, well, not quite a piece of furniture, but it does look like a really sleek piece of fitness equipment that I think you'd be happy to have in your house. They've even taken really good care at the back of the tablet here, so if this is facing into your property, into your room, it's just a nice piece of equipment. There's hardly any Ys on show. You have to really look for them. It's a lovely bike. NordicTrack seem to have made some really good leaps in their design. The colour scheme's better, it's less busy than a lot of their other bikes, and it looks fantastic, I think. Historically, this is the S27i I've got, and I think the back of these bikes just look like prototypes. They're poorly kind of designed. There's loads of screw holes, they don't look great from the back. But with the S27i, I think they've addressed that really well. Compared to the Peloton, and considering the size of this screen, I think they've done a fantastic job. If it's in your house, the Peloton Bike Plus might be a slightly better size. I'm 6'2", or I might be 5'7". I can never remember. But the NordicTrack is really tall. It's as tall as me nearly, and I am 5'7.5". And it might sort of dominate a room it's in, especially if it's a small room, whereas the Peloton might be a slightly better fit. However, I really like what they've done with this NordicTrack. I'm not suggesting that the Peloton bike has aged a bit, but I think this looks like a chunky beast of a unit, and I really like it. In fact, I like it a little bit more than the Peloton. Razor thin round, but around to the NordicTrack, 10.9 to the NordicTrack. Here's the final scores, and by 1 point, the new king of the home cycles, the NordicTrack S27i. However, it is just so close and depends very much on how you're going to use the bike. So in conclusion, if you want lots of really fantastic outdoor scenic rides with this incline and decline feature and the auto follow, and they are just such good rides. They're my favorite cycling classes ever, then the NordicTrack is for you. However, if off the bike content is just as important as on the bike content, and you really like that spin class feel, then the Peloton will edge it for you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you found it useful. If you've got any comments, then please put them down below. I'm keen to know what you think. And until next time, see you soon.